Oh man, if there is one Zelda game that can throw the biggest monkey wrench into any timeline theory, it would be The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. When I first heard of and read up on the game, I had no clue as to where it would fit in the chronology, but since I've played it, I still really don't understand where this game goes. There are apparently other reasons why this may be the most divisive game of the series, drawing praise from many, but harsh criticism from others. And yes, I have watched Benzai's review of the game. The game was released for both the GameCube and the Wii consoles in late 2006, and is said to be actually the final video game released on the GameCube, and among the first released for the Wii in North America. And it does seem like the designers really took to those who criticized the Wind Waker for things like the cartoonish cell animation. Not only did they go back to the more realistic graphic styles, they set out to make the darkest Zelda game ever. The Link in this game starts out as an apparent ranch hand in the village of Ordon in the Ordon Forest, which we've never seen in any Zelda game. Your boss / legal guardian / mayor of the town, I'm not exactly sure, instructs you to take a present to Hyrule Castle, which you apparently don't have to do for 2 days, because you spend the next day in game time taking on the adventurous task of Link's chores. You're rounding up sheep and using a hawk to knock down a hornet's nest. Okay, it's mostly to get you used to the controls, especially for the Wii game, but I'm guessing these scenes weren't in the advertisements for the game. Okay, so the controls. You need the full Wii controller with the nunchuck extension for this game. You use the stick on the nunchuck to move Link, and the remote sensors for actions like swinging your sword and aiming the bow. The A button on the remote is for firing, and the Z on the nunchuck is for targeting. And you probably shouldn't play the Wii version if you drink a lot of Red Bull. So after rounding up the livestock twice, rescuing the village kids from monsters, and getting chewed out for hurting your horse by this girl with an obvious crush on you, the real adventure begins as the kids are again captured by new monsters, you get pulled into a dimensional portal, and wake up as a wolf. Wait a minute. You become a wolf in this game, and it has Twilight in the title. Oh man, if there's a brooding vampire in this game, I'm marching on Nintendo headquarters myself! So yeah, now you're a wolf, chained up in a dungeon somewhere, and suddenly appears a Borg fairy. This is Midna, and you know, it amazes me how the designers of these games keep managing to create more and more annoying characters. Say what you will about Tingle, but at least he only appears sporadically in games and is a nuisance more than anything else. Midna is here for almost the entire game, rides you like a pet, makes you do all the work, and constantly ridicules you. And guess what? There are fans who think she's better suited for Link than Zelda, because that's what the Legend of Zelda series needed: shipping. I don't know, it just bugs me that you have so little time learning the controls and fighting styles in human form before you're turned into this new form and feel like you have to learn a whole new set, especially if you're playing the Wii version. And for some reason, the Wii version is a complete mirror image of the GameCube version, which means not only are all the directions reversed, but in the Wii version, Link is right-handed. Wrong! All wrong! So you find out that you're actually in Hyrule Castle, and according to Princess Zelda herself, the land of Hyrule is being covered in twilight or something from some place called the Twilight Realm that Midna is from, and the leader Zant is some despotic ruler in. Oh, and the Twilight Realm is apparently different from the dark world of Link to the Past, even though Ganondorf, we later learn, was banished there as well by the sages. You see what I mean about this thing throwing everything into chaos? It's just the frustration of trying to find out where this story can fit into the whole chronology that gets to me, and yeah, I know this is nerd ranting. I mean, does this take place in the adult or the child timeline? Is this the new Hyrule following the Wind Waker, or did it occur somewhere before Link to the Past? There are some references to past games, like the Master Sword being in the woods, but you then have to take it to the Temple of Time. So, does that mean it's after Link to the Past, where somehow Ganon escaped the Dark World to end up in the Twilight Realm? You know, I hate to steal a Nostalgia Critic gag, but explain, video game! Explain! Okay, but what I will give the game credit for is that this is actually one of the deeper storylines I've seen in a Zelda game. There's this whole hinting of prejudice and cultural differences, as the Twilight are bitter with not being able to live in the world of light, and this is supposedly Zant's motivation towards spreading the Twilight into Hyrule. So your first major quest, along with restoring your human form, is to restore the light to Hyrule while reclaiming the pieces of something called the Fused Shadow, a weapon that Midna can use against Zant. But once you assemble this weapon, Zant appears, curses you back to a wolf, Zelda sacrifices her powers to save Midna from serious injury, and you must now find the Master Sword to restore your human form for good, which also allows you to become a full wolf at will. So yes, now you have become an actual werewolf. I swear I am hoping Eiji Animura wasn't reading Stephanie Meyer when he thought of this game. And so now your quest becomes to find the pieces of the Twilight Mirror, the gateway to the Twilight Realm that Zant broke, so you can reach and fight him. This is in addition to the standard side quests that the Zelda games give you. Like, after you saved the children and brought them home, you still have to restore the memory of your traumatized village girlfriend. Yeah, I'm just assuming that it's now standard for every game to have at least 3 girls who want to get into Link's breeches. It does unfortunately seem like not as much effort was put into the gameplay here. You only have to find 3 pieces of the mirror, making it the smallest main objective of any Zelda game I've seen yet. I guess it's a nice creative touch that the music you have to learn in this game involves baying as a wolf rather than playing instruments, but overall I kind of agree with Benzai in that it looks like they just duplicated elements from Ocarina of Time. Not just with things like the horse riding, but that there's also a water temple where you get the hook shot. Because, yeah, we all wanted to be reminded of the single most difficult dungeon in the history of gaming. Once you restore the mirror and travel to Zant's palace, you confront him in a battle that, I admit, is unique, in that he transforms the environment around you, and you have to use a lot of the items you got in the game to defeat him. But of course, it turns out Zant was all Ganon's pawn, and now you have to go back to Hyrule Castle, where you first have to face a possessed Zelda with the old bat the magic spells back at her using the Master Sword technique. Free Zelda, and then you face Ganon in beast form, where you must fight him as a wolf before Midna blows up the castle in a failed attempt to take out Ganon. And now, for the first time in history, it's you and Ganondorf in traditional jousting combat. You first must knock him off his horse with Zelda's help, using the light arrows that just come to her from out of nowhere, before it finally becomes a straight one-on-one sword battle. Jeez, I know this is the second time you've plunged that thing right into him, but dang, this thing does get hardcore. So you flat out kill Ganondorf, Midna is safe and returned to her true self, and she looks forward to a life of threesomes with Link and Zelda. Okay, she actually returns to the Twilight Realm and completely destroys the mirror, believing that their two worlds shouldn't cross again. Geez, so much for integration. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is kind of a mixed bag for me. The graphics are amazing, and the final battles are impressive, but the story to me is kind of all over the place. I like the references to past games, but it's done so in a way that leaves you confused as to where it takes place. I said you could claim that Four Swords Adventures isn't a canonical game, but I don't have that excuse here. I really have to take some creative liberties to fit this game into a timeline. So here I go. I'll say that Twilight Princess takes place in the child timeline sometime after Link to the Past, where Ganon somehow escaped the Dark World, possibly as a side effect of Link's wish to do all the evil he caused in that game, which forced the sages to send him elsewhere. The Link in this game is a much more distant descendant of the legendary hero line, given that the last one left Hyrule for Link's awakening. Because Link kills Ganon in this game, I'm predicting that Ganon's forces later kill this Link and use his blood to revive Ganon, just as a more direct descendant of the hero line makes his way back to Hyrule, setting up the story for the first two Zelda games, and establishing that using Link's blood can restore Ganon, which was one of the basics of Zelda 2. Yeah, I'm definitely grasping for straws here, but it's all I've got. This might be the game that does the least to fit into a chronology while still referencing the series' history. Director Eiji Anomura has said he wanted to establish a set timeline, but I honestly don't know where he intended to put this one. Fortunately, things get better as we go forward. Yes, we can breathe a sigh of relief because the game placement will start becoming much more clear.